Life constantly throws us into arguments. People challenge us, they provoke us, they twist our words. They push us emotionally. And sometimes the goal is not truth. The goal is domination. But the ancient Stoics discovered something powerful. Something sharp. Something that can cut through confusion, manipulation, and chaos. Not with aggression. Not with shouting. But with clarity. With simple questions that force the other person to expose the weakness of their argument. Because the Stoics understood a timeless truth: when you stay calm and ask the right question, the argument destroys itself. These questions are not attacks. They are mirrors. They make people face their own logic, their own intentions, their own contradictions. And the moment someone with a weak argument is forced to think clearly, they crumble. They lose power. They lose control. That's why Stoic questioning is such a powerful weapon for anyone who wants to stay centered, unbothered, and in control. Today, I will give you 5 Stoic questions that instantly disarm any argument. Questions that reveal truth. Questions that expose manipulation. Questions that bring silence. Not because you defeated the person, but because the truth defeated the argument. Stay with me through this entire video, because the last question is the one that ancient philosophers used to reveal intentions and destroy hidden motives. If you are serious about becoming mentally stronger, emotionally sharper, and harder to manipulate, then listen carefully. And before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more Stoic wisdom that sharpens your mind and strengthens your life. Now let us begin. 1. The first question the Stoics used to dismantle any argument is simple yet devastating. What exactly do you mean? When someone is arguing emotionally, attacking you, or trying to manipulate you, they speak in vague ideas. They throw general accusations. They exaggerate. They twist. They create fog. And arguments survive in fog. But clarity kills confusion. This question forces the person to define their claim with precision. Suddenly they must step out of emotion and step into logic. They must choose their words carefully. They must give structure to the chaos they tried to use against you. Marcus Aurelius believed that people argue from emotion because they don't even fully understand what they are saying. They speak from impulse, not reasoning. So when you calmly ask, "What exactly do you mean?" it forces the argument into the realm of clarity, where lies cannot survive. This question is not aggressive. It is not rude. It is not confrontational. It is neutral, calm, and surgical. And because it's neutral, the other person cannot accuse you of attacking them. Instead, they feel subtly pressured to explain themselves. And in most arguments, the moment someone tries to explain the emotion behind their attack, the emotional force dies. Their words lose weight. Their anger loses direction. Their confidence begins to weaken. Because clarity exposes emptiness. You show power by staying calm, collected, and rational, while they begin to lose steam. Most arguments collapse right here, because people don't expect you to ask for clarity. They expect you to defend yourself. They expect you to respond emotionally. But Stoics do the opposite. They slow the conversation down and make confusion stand trial. So remember this question whenever you face accusation, manipulation, criticism, or emotional argument. Calmly ask, "What exactly do you mean?" and watch the argument begin to fall apart on its own. 2. The second question in the Stoic method is one of the sharpest tools you can ever use in the middle of an argument. How do you know that? This question forces people to confront the foundation of their claim. In most arguments, people speak with confidence but without evidence. They assume. They exaggerate. They project. They repeat something they heard somewhere. They interpret their emotions as facts. And they present all of this with bold certainty. But the moment you calmly ask, "How do you know that?" everything changes. This question does not attack them. It does not insult them. It does not challenge their character. Instead, it challenges the source of their argument. And most arguments collapse because the source is weak. Maybe the person is relying on gossip. Maybe they are relying on jealousy. Maybe they are relying on insecurity. Maybe they are relying on a single moment they misunderstood. Or maybe they are relying on nothing at all. When you ask this question, you force them to face that reality. A weak foundation cannot support a strong argument. Epictetus taught that people should make sure their judgments are secure before speaking. But in real life, people speak first and think later. So when you ask, "How do you know that?" you push them to think now. You shift the argument away from emotion and force it into reason. That is where the Stoic shines. Notice something important. This question is calm and emotionless. Your tone does all the work. You are not arguing. You are not defending. You are not trying to win. You are simply asking for their source. And this makes them uncomfortable, because it exposes whether they are speaking from truth or from assumption. Many people will stumble. Some will hesitate. Some will get angry because they cannot answer. Some will try to change the subject. All of these reactions reveal something powerful. Their argument was weak from the beginning. With this single question, you have destroyed the backbone of their claim without raising your voice. You have turned the argument into a quiet examination of evidence, and most people have none. This is why the Stoics loved this question. It forces truth to stand alone. So the next time someone throws an accusation at you, or claims something boldly, or tries to corner you with emotional statements, just pause, look them in the eye, and calmly ask, "How do you know that?" The silence that follows will give you all the answers you need. 3. The third Stoic question that destroys any argument is simple, disarming, and extremely powerful. What do you mean by that? This question forces clarity. It forces precision. It forces the other person to define the thing they are emotionally throwing at you. Most arguments fall apart not because someone is wrong, but because the conversation is built on vague statements, unclear accusations, and undefined claims. People say things like, "You always do this," "You never listen," "You are the problem," "Everyone knows," "This is wrong," or "You messed everything up." These are emotional statements, not factual ones. They sound strong, but they mean nothing until they are clearly defined. And that is exactly why asking, "What do you mean by that?" is a Stoic weapon. It makes the person slow down. It makes them organize their thoughts. It makes them explain themselves with actual clarity instead of emotional exaggeration. And you will notice something powerful. The clearer they try to be, the weaker their argument becomes. Most arguments depend on vagueness to survive. When you remove vagueness, you remove the fuel. Asking, "What do you mean by that?" also prevents you from reacting emotionally. Instead of defending yourself, instead of being triggered, instead of matching their anger, you shift the argument into a calmer space. You take control without force. Marcus Aurelius taught that confusion creates unnecessary suffering, while clarity dissolves emotion. When you ask for clarity, you automatically reduce the emotional charge of the argument. And now the other person must respond with actual meaning, not emotional noise. Another important thing happens when you ask this question. You reveal whether the person is arguing honestly or manipulatively. If someone is genuine, they will try to explain. If someone is manipulating you, they will avoid explaining. They will say, "You know what I mean," or "Stop pretending," or "Don't twist my words," or "It's obvious." These responses show you that their argument has no substance. They rely on guilt, pressure, and emotional intensity, not facts. The Stoic question exposes this instantly. And you must remain calm. Your tone must stay steady. Your breathing slow. Your posture relaxed. Remember, you are not challenging them. You are clarifying the conversation. You are removing fog so truth can stand alone. And once the argument becomes clear, most people realize they have no argument at all. This question does not embarrass them. It simply brings the discussion into the light. And in the light, things fall apart if they were built on emotional shadows. So the next time someone throws vague accusations or emotional statements at you, pause and calmly ask, "What do you mean by that?" This question alone will dismantle most arguments before they even begin. 4. The fourth Stoic question that quietly destroys any argument is this: what evidence would convince you otherwise? This question is a mirror. It reveals whether the person you are dealing with is rational or emotionally locked. In most arguments, people are not searching for truth. They are searching for victory. They are not listening. They are defending their ego. They are not asking questions. They are trying to protect their pride. So when you ask, "What evidence would convince you otherwise?" you break the cycle completely. You shift the interaction away from emotional fighting and toward intellectual honesty. And suddenly the other person has to do something they were not prepared for: think. They must consider what would actually change their mind. They must examine whether their belief is flexible or rigid. They must reflect on whether they are arguing from truth or stubbornness. Many people will not have an answer. They will freeze. Or they will get irritated. Or they will avoid the question because answering it requires humility. And humility is rare in heated arguments. But this is exactly why the Stoics used this question. It forces the conversation into a space most people avoid, the space where reason replaces emotion. If someone cannot name any evidence that would change their mind, they are not arguing. They are clinging. They are defending identity, not truth. They are protecting insecurity, not logic. And this exposes the real issue. You learn instantly whether the argument is worth continuing or whether you should walk away. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is pointless to wrestle with someone who refuses to see. You do not fight darkness by punching it, you simply step out of the room. This question helps you make that decision. If the person gives a clear answer, for example, facts, proof, or specific information, then you know you are dealing with someone capable of reason. You can continue the discussion calmly. But if they say, "Nothing would convince me," or "I don't care," or "I know what I'm saying," or "I just feel it," then the argument is already dead. There is no reason to continue. And your calm response becomes extremely powerful. You can simply say, "If nothing can change your mind, then this is not a conversation." It's a conclusion you already made. When you say this, their anger has nowhere to go. Your calm reasoning removes the fuel from their fire. You are not trapped in the emotional storm. You are above it. This question protects your peace. It removes the need to win. It shows you whether the conversation is real or pointless. And most importantly, it keeps you in control of your composure. So the next time someone argues from stubbornness, calmly ask them, "What evidence would convince you otherwise?" Their reaction will reveal everything you need to know. 5. The fifth Stoic question that ends almost any argument instantly is this: are we trying to solve the problem or trying to win? This question exposes the true intention behind the conflict. Most arguments are not created to solve anything. They are created to protect pride, defend ego, prove superiority, or unload emotion. People rarely argue because they want clarity. They argue because they want control. They want to be right. They want validation. They want the satisfaction of defeating someone. And when you calmly ask, "Are we trying to solve the problem or trying to win?" you shift the entire energy of the conversation. Separate the ego from the actual issue. You bring the argument out of the emotional fire and into the calm light of reason. And now the other person must confront the true motivation. They are trying to solve the problem. Your question opens a doorway to cooperation. If they are trying to win, your question exposes their intention instantly. In both cases, you gain control of the conversation without raising your voice. This is why the Stoics relied on questions instead of attacks. Questions transform the battlefield into a discussion. Questions turn conflict into clarity. Questions turn emotional reactions into logical reflections. When you ask this question, something powerful happens. The other person becomes aware of themselves. They become aware of their tone. They become aware of the direction of the conversation. They become aware of whether they are being fair or simply being stubborn. People do not like being confronted with their own ego, and the discomfort often disarms them. It makes them slow down. It breaks the emotional pattern. And in many cases, it makes them realize the argument is unnecessary. This question is not rude. It is not confrontational. It is not sarcastic. It is calm, honest, neutral, and logical. It gives the other person a chance to reset, and it gives you a chance to guide the conversation into something productive. Seneca wrote that anger is always a failure of perspective. When you ask this question, you restore perspective. You remind both yourself and the other person that the goal of communication is understanding, not victory. You do not fight fire with fire. You let the flame burn out by refusing to feed it, so the next time someone drags you into tension, pause, breathe, and ask calmly, "Are we trying to solve the problem or trying to win?" If they choose solving the problem, the argument transforms. If they choose winning, the argument ends. Either way, you walk out with your peace intact. In the end, remember this: arguments are rarely about truth. They are usually about ego. They are about emotion. They are about someone trying to pull you into their storm so they can feel in control for a moment. But you are not here to live in storms. You are here to master yourself. And the Stoic Method gives you the tools to do exactly that. These 5 questions are not weapons for attacking others. They are shields that protect your mind. They keep you grounded when others lose themselves. They keep you calm when others shake. They keep you wise when others react without thinking. Every time you ask one of these questions, you bring the discussion back to clarity. You bring the conversation back to reason. You bring the argument back into the light where truth can stand alone. And that is where you win without fighting. That is where you rise above the chaos. That is where your strength shows. So whenever tension rises, whenever someone tries to pull you into drama, whenever someone argues to dominate instead of understand, remember you are not obligated to fight every battle. You are obligated only to keep your peace. Keep your clarity. Keep your discipline. And when you speak, speak with intention. Speak with calmness. Speak with the confidence of someone who knows their mind cannot be shaken. If this message added value to you, if it gave you clarity, if it reminded you of the strength you carry within you, then take 1 second and hit that subscribe button right now. Join this community of disciplined minds and growing warriors, because together we rise with wisdom, strength, and self-mastery. And I will see you in the next video.